Alrighty guys, so this is the Unit 6 test review. Sorry that we couldn't see each other, but hopefully this video helps you out on the test. Don't forget to take, you have the test tomorrow. It needs to be started and completed on Friday. Remember, with all these videos, you can pause, rewind, stop, whatever you need to do. And then if you still have questions, feel free to email me, post on Google Classroom, whatever you need to do to get a hold of me. All right, so looking at problems like this, if I have the cube root of 875 into the 7th, your first thing you want to do is try to see if you can take the cube root of 875. Now, I know a lot of you don't have calculators, so I'm going to do a lot of this in Desmos. So if I go to Desmos, all you have to do is just type in desmos.com. It's a free online calculator. And if you hit math tools up on top, you have all kinds of different things. You have graphing calculator, scientific calculator, four function calculator, matrix, test practice, geometry tool. The big one you want to be in for this one is your scientific calculator. And then just type it in. Now to make a cube root, you'll see a square root that has a little X right above it. Hit that one. It'll allow you to hit the 3 for the cube root. And then I believe, was it 875? So I'm going to type in, oh, I'm going to get back out and go back inside. So 875. It gave me a decimal, so therefore I'm going to have to simplify this. So looking at 875, remember your perfect cubes. All right, so your perfect cubes. The main ones to know was 1 cubed equals 1, which we never really use. And then we have 2 cubed equals 8, 3 cubed equals 27, 4 cubed equals 64, and 5 cubed equals 125. So you want to take 875 and try to divide it by one of these. Now, it doesn't matter which one you divide by, you're just trying to get a perfect number. So you can take 875 and you can divide it by 8 if you like. Oh, wrong one. So I'm going to take 875, so 875 divided by 8. It did not give me a perfect number, so therefore 8 would not be the one I want to use. So going back to it, my next one I would choose is 27. So I come over here, now I'm going to divide it by 27. Still did not give me a perfect number, so now I come back over here, I'm going to try 64. So now I'm gonna come over here, take it out, put in 64. Still did not get a perfect number. So we come back. Now we're gonna try 125. So 125, and it comes out perfectly with 7. So therefore, 875 will split up into 125 and 7. So if I rewrite this, this becomes the cube root of 125 times 7 times n to the 7th. Now we're ready to simplify. The cube root of 125 was 5. The 7 is the remainder, so it's going to stay inside the radical. And then you divide your exponents by your index. So 3 goes into 7 2 times with a remainder of 1. So that 1 will stay inside the radical. And that is all you have to do. So let's do another one. We got 32. Obviously, 32 is not one of our perfect cubes. So I'm going to take 32, come over here and do the same math. So 32 divided by 8. Actually, it came out perfectly with 4. So therefore, 32 will break down into 8 and 4. Do the same concept. So I get the cube root of 8 times 4 times x to the 5th. The cube root of 8 is 2, where 4 is the remainder. Now, the big mistake here is students want to say the cube root of 4 is 2, but that's the square root. So do realize the 4 would be the remainder. And then 3 goes into 5. Looks like one time with a remainder of 2. So I have x squared left in the radical. And there you go. All right. Moving on to number 3. So here, you always want to start off by trying to multiply it and see if you do get a perfect number. So again, I'm just going to do the square root of 6. Oh, times the square root of 3. It did not come out perfect, so therefore I'm going to have to work this out. So since they do have the same index, I can multiply them. So 6 times 3 gives me 18. And again, in the calculator, I can just do this. 6 times 3, get 18. Oh, there you go. And now I'm going to try to use my perfect squares. All right, so again, my perfect squares. 1 squared is 1. Don't really ever need that. 2 squared is 4. So let's try off 4 real quick. So I go over here. I take 18, divide it by 4. It is not perfect. So let's look at the next one. 3 squared is equal to 9. All right, so let's try 9. So that's going to give me 18 divided by 9, and it gives me 2. So therefore, this will break down into 9 and 2. So this goes into the square root of 9 times 2. The square root of 9 is 3, where 2 is the leftover. And that is your final answer. Coming over here on 4, you can try again to multiply it as is and hope for the best. So let's see. So we got there's a certain negative icon, or can we just do that? So you just can do a minus for your negative, and it was 3 square roots of 20 times 5 square root of 25. It did not come out perfect. So here's what we can do. We can then just multiply it. So we're going to multiply the outside numbers, which is negative 3 times 5. So I come over here. Negative 3 times 5 gives me negative 15. And then I can do 20 times 25. So 20 times 25 gives me 500. So I get 500. And now I'm going to try to divide by all my numbers. So again, here's some more perfect squares. You got 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. 6 squared is 36. 7 squared is 49. 8 squared is 64. 9 squared is 81. And 10 squared is 100. Now again, you can go through 500, divide it by 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, and 81. But since it's 500, looking at all my perfect squares, I can just tell that it's going to be divisible by 100. But if you can't, again, just go through the process. So I'm going to go 105, and just to verify that, I'm going to come over here and take 500, divide it by 100, and in fact, I get 5. So this can now be rewritten as negative 15 square root of 100 times 5. And now I can simplify. The square root of 100 was 10. So it becomes negative 15 times 10. And then the 5 would be the leftover. So all you got to do now is just take negative 15 times 10, and you'll get negative 150. All right. All right, so let's come over here. We're just going to simply just divide these two. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then we're going to do 5 over 80. So let's come over here. 5 divided by 80. Cool. So if you do 5 divided by 80 and hit that little fraction thing on the right side, it turns it back into a fraction. Decimals don't really do us much. So I'm going to come back over here, and I am left with 1 over 16. So that gives me the square root of 1 over the square root of 16. That's your 1 over 16. However, the square root of 1 is 1. So that's just 2 times 1, which is 2. And then the square root of 16 is 4. And then we just want to simplify that by doing 1/2. All right, there you go. All right, same concept on number 6. However, just looking at it, we're like, oh man, 15 and 16 does not divide. So now we're just going to simplify. Square root of 15 is 3 and 5, so that doesn't break down any further. But the square root of 16 is 4, so that becomes 4 times 4, which is in fact just 16. So that'd be the answer there. Let's do the same thing here. Let's divide. So I can't do anything with the 4, so the 4 is going to stay here. But 5 divided by 20. Again, if you hit the little fraction things, it turns it into a fraction for you. It's simply just square root of 1 over the square root of 4. Square root of 1 is just 1. Square root of 4 is 2, so that becomes 1 over 8. And do the same thing over here. I can't quite add these, so I need to make them look the same. Now, we don't know much about the fourth roots, except for the fact that we know our 1 to the fourth is 1, 2 to the fourth is 16, 3 to the fourth is 81, 4 to the fourth was 256, and 5 to the fourth was 625. So now I'm going to come back over here, and I'm just going to take my 405 and divide it by all these numbers. So 405 divided by 16 didn't work out. So we're going to try 81. So 405 divided by 81 gives me 5. So that worked out really good. All right, so here we go. So then this breaks down into 81 and 5. So now I get 2 fourth roots of 5 plus 2 fourth roots of 81 times 5. The fourth root of 81 was 3, so I bring that out. The 5 is the leftover. Simplify some more. Again, you can skip some of these steps if you like, but I'm just writing it all out for you. 2 times 3 is 6. Now that they have the same index and the same radicand, you can now just add. So 2 plus 6 gives me 8. There you go. All right, on number 9, you just got to full it out. So you get the square root of 3 times the square root of 3, which is the square root of 9. Then the square root of 3 times the square root of 4, which is the square root of 12. Then the square root of 3, oh my bad, 5 square root of 2 times square root of 3 will be 5 square roots of 6. So you multiply the inside numbers only. And then you would do plus 5 square roots of 8. And now we're just going to simplify. 9 simplifies down to 3. 12. Again, you would want to divide by your perfect squares. The easiest perfect square is 4. And then that gives you 3. The square root of 4 is 2. Left over with a 3. 6 doesn't break down any further. And then 8 breaks down into 4 and 2, because again, you divide by your perfect squares. So that gives me 5 times 2, because that's what the square root of 4 is, with a leftover of 2 inside. So now I'm going to combine like terms, but it does not look like I have anything really to combine. So my answer here will be just this. I cannot combine the 2, 6, or the 3. So there you go. Right, looking at number 10, we're just going to solve these. So since the radical is already isolated, we're just going to raise it by its index. So we're going to square both sides. The square root and the square would cancel. 1 squared is 1. Then we solve this like a regular equation. So I'm going to add 7. So 2x equals 8, and then divide by 2. So x would equal 4. You do want to check it. So make sure that equals 1. So I'll come back over here. That's going to be the square root of 2 times 4 minus 7. And in fact, it does equal 1. So that does work out. Okay. But always check it because sometimes it might not. All right, so we come to this one here. Here, this is where you want to rationalize by multiplying by its conjugate. So I'm just going to multiply by the exact same binomial on bottom. I'm just going to change the sign. So that minus will turn into a positive. And of course, what I do to the bottom, I must also do to the top. All right, so again, here we go. So you're just going to work it out. So let's start off at the bottom. So negative 9 times negative 9 is 81. Negative 9 times square root of 6 is negative square root 9 square root of 6. Negative square root of 6 times negative 9 is positive 9 square root of 6. Negative square root of 6 times negative square, or positive square root of 6 is negative square root of 36. We know the square root of 36 is 6, and we know that negative 9 plus 9 will cancel out, so this just becomes 81 minus 6. And again, you can just type that part in the calculator, so 81 minus 6 gives us 75. So on bottom, I will have 75. And then, of course, they're going to want you to do the same thing on the top. So 9 times negative 9 is negative 54. 6 times square root of 6 is positive 6 square roots of 6. 3 square root of 3 times negative 9 is minus 9 square root of 3. And square root of 3 times square root of 6 is the square root of 18. And then they want you to simplify. 18 looks like that breaks down into, doesn't go into 4, but does go into it 9, 2 times. So then when we come over here, this will then become negative 54. Oh, let me rewrite that. Negative 54 plus 6 square roots of 6 minus 9 square roots of 3 plus the square root of 9 is 3 square roots of 2 all over 75. And of course, you cannot combine any of those. So there's your answer. All right. They also might leave it in this form as well, but most likely probably going to distribute it out. All right. Again, make sure you review, watch this video, take notes. You do not have to submit this online. This is just to help you for your test tomorrow. You must take your test between 8 a.m. and 11:59 p.m. tomorrow. If you do it late, you will not be allowed to do that test. You would have to do a makeup test. All right. So it will go in as a 0 until you do that. So make sure you get this done in that time frame. Y'all have a good rest of y'all's day, and then good rest of y'all's break. I'll probably post another video for y'all to watch on Monday, but tomorrow, good luck on your test.